Lid is a 17-year-old reincarnator who is the fourth son of Lord Yunyan of the Ongtian Kingdom, but because he was weak, his siblings would always try to assassinate him. Lid then stops in his track and angrily asks the assassin if he was satisfied with just being a dog for his older brother, yet the assassin would express his loyalty to Lord Li Yi. They then got into a heated argument before a sword was pointed near the assassin's neck. Alaya was the only retainer under Lid, and she apologizes for being late. Alaya then told her lord to be careful, but Lid hesitated and water was poured down on him. An old lady shouts at them to leave because they were making too much noise. Alaya couldn't help but chuckle at her lord, while Lid said they'll quickly leave. Later, while taking a bath in his mansion, Alaya came in to help wash her master. Lid then tells Alaya that things were getting more difficult for him in the kingdom, and he began thinking of other reincarnators, about how some have dominated the world and became rulers, while others have been cultivating and became supreme entities, and there are heroes who fight the Demon King or turn into the Demon King themselves. Alaya then asked what should they do, and Lid expressed that since he doesn't have too many ways to defend himself, and because his father has chosen his elder brother as the successor of the family, Lid says there's only one way to escape from this mess, and that was to get a fief from his father and leave this place. He then tells his dear knight that he has a plan and doesn't want to die young. Alaya assured her master that she will follow wherever he goes. Later, outside of Yunyang territory, Alaya noticed that her master was very happy, and Lid expressed they were finally rich. It's then revealed a day prior, Lid had tricked the king into hating him so he could be banished and obtain a fief. He also had a kind conversation with his elder brother that led to him acquiring a chest full of gold. Lid then laments after many sorrowful years it was time for him to have a better life. Yet Alaya reminds her master that the city he's going to be governing is Yushi City, and that place is rumored to be unimaginably poor. However, Lid smiled and he begins to explain his genius plan. Because the location of Yushi City is situated in the center of many kingdoms and the territory of the Demon Kingdom, it is the best place to do business. Also, since they are the first line of defense against the horde of the Western Demon Country, no one would dare claim this land because the liability was too great. However, Lid sees this as an opportunity to strike it rich. Lid then took a peek out of his window and saw a shadowy figure near a lake. Lid would make out this figure to be a girl with long and silver hair, yet he only thought about it for a moment before carrying on to Yushi City. However, they were quite perplexed when arriving at the city, since the place was much shabbier than they anticipated. With moldy and rotten fruits and many dilapidated houses, Lid was starting to regret moving here. Suddenly, someone greets the new city lord, and he reveals himself to be Pierce, the former governor of this city, and he states that they have prepared a special banquet for Lid. Yet just from observing his manners and his attires, Lid immediately concludes that this man was a corrupted noble. Pierce later took Lid to his fancy mansion, yet Lid was unimpressed, and remarks that he was quite well off compared to his people. This causes Pierce to flinch and make excuses, yet Lid said to calm down cause he was only joking. They later started Lid's mediocre banquet, and Pierce reveals that the circumstance in Yushi City was quite special, since demons frequently roam around the area and Lid might have difficulties managing the city. Pierce took out a fat stack of cash and says it would be better if they govern the city instead. However, Lid decided to ask a question, and Pierce cheerfully tells him to ask away. But when Lid asked how they were able to protect the city, Pierce just froze because he didn't want to reveal the secret. Later, while roaming around the city after the banquet was over, Lid expressed he'll have to find a way to get rid of those corrupted nobles, and Alaya was prepared to take action. Yet Lid playfully bops Alaya on the head and said no, because he wants to resolve this peacefully as the new city lord. A little girl then pulled his clothes asking him if he would like to purchase some apples, because an apple only cost 2 coppers per fruit. Lid was kind and sincere to this little girl, so he requested Alaya to give him 2 silver coins. But as he was about to hand over the coins, it was slapped away by a new hand. This hand belongs to the little girl's older brother, and he told Lid to stay away from his sister, before turning to his sister and reminding her about what these nobles did to their master. Meanwhile, Lid felt like he was being villainized for no reason. Yet the boy would charge up a magical spell before launching an enhanced rock at Lid's direction. However, Lid would catch the rock with ease, and learns that this kid can use an augmentation spell, so he wonders if he was the spellcaster that is defending this city from demons. Yet upon further inspection, Lid realized that this kid was just a beginner and probably just learned magic from the master he just mentioned. The kid then threw an apple at Lid's head, and revealed he was a 12-year-old kid called Yama. Alaya wanted to defend her master's honor, but Lid told her to calm down. He then tossed a silver coin at the little girl, before they both said their goodbyes. Lid then theorized that Yama's master must be the protector of this city, and since magicians are known for their firepower to annihilate waves of enemies, it would make sense that a poor city like Yushi City could still stand after countless invasions from the demons. Lid then overhears the city people talking about a witch called Felita, and learns that Pierce has deceived the people of the city into sacrificing Felita to the demons, because Pierce said the demons will stop invading them if they hand over Felita. Lid then realized that this Felita must be the magician protecting the city, and he thought the city's people were fools to believe Pierce and sacrifice the one protecting them. However, he didn't think these ordinary folks could lay a hand on a magician. Later at Lid's mansion and residence, Alaya informs Lid that someone's here to see him. Lid then told them to come in, and Yama was on his knees about to cry. He apologized to Lid for his brash behavior from earlier, but he begs the city's lord to save his master. Lid was amused and asked why should he save one person and offend an entire city, but Yama expressed she's a good person. Before handing over the book of his master, Lid decided to take a look, but when he saw the content of the book with blood marks at random area of the page, Lid's expression immediately turned dark. He decided to save Yama's master and ordered Alaya to accompany him. At another place while Felita was being sacrificed to the demons, she starts to recount memories about her past. We learn that her mother was burned to death after having an affair with a demon, and Felita's grandfather was her last remaining relative that also took care of her. Yet life wasn't easy after that day. Felita would constantly be bullied by other kids, and they would always treat her like a monster. One day Felita came home bruised and battered, asking her grandpa if she was really a monster. With tears forming in his eyes, Felita's grandpa would hug her and said those who did this to her were the real monsters, so she needs to work harder until they can't do this to her anymore. Felita, who was encouraged by her grandfather's word, began to learn magic on her own. And when the bullies tried picking on her again, Felita now had the ability to defend herself. The once gloomy and sad-looking child was now starting to become cheerful. However, the parents of the bullies would begin to direct their anger at Felita's grandfather, because they didn't like the way Felita was treating their kids. Suddenly a big tree came crashing down near the people, and Felita warns them to not hurt her grandpa. Pierce, who caught wind of this news, wanted Felita to be the official mage of Yushi City, and he ensures her that no one will harm her and her grandpa ever again, yet in exchange he wants Felita to be his mistress. Felita was upset and ran away after lighting Pierce's pants on fire, yet the hairless swine swears that he'll get his revenge against Felita. The very next day after Felita returned home, her face was deathly pale when she saw what had happened. Her house was completely ruined with everything being destroyed, but most importantly her grandpa was lying in a puddle of his own blood. He was having difficulties making a sentence, and Felita would clutch her grandpa's hand while crying softly. Yet with his final breath, he'd ask Felita to not be vengeful, because these people doesn't hate her, they fear her. Yet she is the only one who can protect this city, and although it may be hard, one day someone will accept her for who she truly is. Felita's eyes then lit up in amazement, and Lid introduced himself as the new city lord of Yushi City. He then unties her while saying she will be his magician from today onward, but Felita expressed she needs to be sacrificed in order to maintain peace with the demons, so Lid should probably tie her back up. Yet Lid assures her he will resolve this problem, and Alaya told Felita to have confidence in her master, because in Yushi City, his words are absolute. Meanwhile, the corrupted nobles were having a grand time talking behind Lid's back, and they began plotting a sinister plan to dispose of Lid. Yet Lid asked what were they scheming, while sitting on a guard's body. Pierce was baffled that Lid was here, and one of the corrupted nobles tried to escape. However, with a strong kick to the stomach, he was now squirming on the floor. With a devilish look, Lid questions why he wasn't invited to this party. He then noticed that Pierce was trying to sneak away, so he stops him by launching a wooden stick into the wall. Yet the squirming noble would take this time to strike at Lid from behind, but he was smacked away by Lid. Another tried to do the same, yet he was again smacked by Lid. Lid then began his relentless assault while Pierce tried to get away, yet Lid soon caught up to him, and he was looking like the Lidminator. Lid then coerced Pierce into leaving half of his wealth, and he wants his friends to do the same as well. Yet one of the corrupted nobles retorted against this idea, so Lid threw Pierce at them like a bowling ball and threatened to use force if he has to. At this moment Pierce felt a tremendous amount of fear, so he apologizes on his friend's behalf and said they will do as Lid says. Lid was pleased with Pierce's answer, so he decided to banish the corrupted nobles from Yushi City as well. Pierce covered up his stupid friend's mouth and said they will leave at once. After the carriage was prepared with some essential materials, the corrupted nobles quickly left Yushi City. However, Lid still had a dark expression covering his face, and he ordered Alaya to send the corrupted nobles to hell. While on the road, Pierce expressed he'll find a way to get revenge on Lid, but suddenly the carriage was stopped in a rush, causing the nobles and objects to shake. It's revealed that Alaya had arrived in front of the carriage, and Pierce angrily told his coachman to run over Alaya. But as Alaya jumps up into the sky, this was the last panel where Pierce was still alive. Meanwhile, Felita thanks Lid for rescuing her, but she hopes Lid will let those corrupted nobles go, because she wants everyone in Yushi City to live in peace. We then see a flashback where the corrupted nobles were boasting about sacrificing their people to the demons every year, and how they'll run away with all the money when the city is done for. When Lid overheard this, he basically deemed them unworthy of life. The very next day, Lid announced the death of the 3 corrupted nobles to the public, and he confirms that they were killed by demons after running away with a large sum of money. Meanwhile, the people were conversing with one another, thinking that Pierce was a traitor and how they regretted sacrificing Felita to the demons. Lid then told them the truth behind Pierce's intention and how he has deceived everyone including Felita, but it was him, Lord Lid, that saved them, and he also boasted about rescuing Felita. The people felt gratitude towards Lid, but they were happier that Felita was still alive. Yet Lid announced that Felita might be leaving Yushi City soon. Later at Lid's mansion, Alaya informs her lord that his tactic in making the locals apologize to Felita was a success. She then hands him a letter regarding the other lords near his city. However, after learning the contents of this letter, Lid felt disdain towards those uncivilized pigs. Lid later had a nightmare because one of his brothers was flirting with him. This caused him so much pain that he quickly woke up. However, his eyes had noticed someone near him. It was the beautiful and voluptuous Felita sleeping next to him. Lid was in shock and questions why was she in bed with him, yet Felita revealed that Lid wanted her to be with him, and she shows a flashback where Lid wants her to be his magician from today onward. Lid was disturbed by how naive Felita was. Yet Alaya later enters the room, and caught her lord having fun with Felita. Lid tried to explain his situation, however Alaya slowly closed the door with a murderous grin, and Lid felt a chill ran down his spine. Lid later went to check on the army he had created to resist the demons' invasion. However, only 80 people were qualified to join, and the ones that did qualify looked dispirited. So Lid ordered Alaya to give everyone here a single gold coin, and he would motivate them by giving an awesome speech, causing all of his soldiers to feel energized and motivated. Lid then points at Luger and designate this professional swordsman as their captain. Later in the evening, after dealing with his army, Lid runs into Yama and his sister. They cheerfully converse with each other, before Yama thanks Lid for saving his master's life. Lid told him to not sweat it, and Yama eagerly expressed he will become someone just like Felita in the future. Lid agrees that it was a good thing he wants to be strong like Felita, but there are some aspects he shouldn't learn from his master. Yet Yama was adamant he will become just like her. Lid began envisioning a much older girl version of Yama, and thought that this would actually be nice. Yet Alaya calls out to him, and informs her lord that a horde of demons will be invading the city in the next few days. However, Lid wasn't afraid and thought it was time they gave the demons a good beating. A few days later, as the sun rose, a horde of demons were charging at Yushi City. Yet with Alaya being the vanguard, and Felita acting as the ranged spellcaster, Lid was certain they would win this battle. However, Felita was feeling more nervous since there were more demons than usual, yet Lid reminds her that she's not alone anymore because she has him and Alaya. Felita felt much better thanks to Lid's comforting words, so she begins casting a powerful spell that lit up the sky with 3 enormous magic circles, before meteorite-like fireballs would rain down upon the orcs. However, the demon hounds were undeterred and moved even faster, so Felita casted powerful lightning spell, and this time lightning came down smiting the demons. However, Felita was not done, and she blasted most of the demons away with a fearsome ice spell. Finally, with remaining strength she had left, Felita casted a small-scale earthquake spell to send the demons to hell. However, there was still a couple of demons left, and Felita had already reached her limit. Yet there was still the mighty Alaya standing in their way, and with one powerful swing from her sword, the demons' invasion was now over. After the battle was settled, Lid had salvaged many of the demons' materials, and he had sneaked away while his 2 loyal retainers were conversing with each other. Lid made his way to a secluded forest and calls the boss from the Goblin clan to come out. The demon then showed himself, yet it was clearly looking down on Lid for being a tiny and weak human. But after Lid sends him flying into a tree effortlessly, and threatens to break all of his bone if he doesn't listen, the Goblin boss was humbled and said he won't ever try to invade Yushi City ever again. However, this was not what Lid wanted, since no demon means no economic income in this region. Lid decided to introduce a genius business proposal to the Goblin boss. The Goblin boss asked what was he planning, and Lid reveals he wants to invest in the trading sector with the demons. Basically, he wants to be the middleman to trade demon and human goods, and since the demon kingdom has a special ore that can only be extracted by certain demons, Lid was giving ideas of how the industrialization of the demon kingdom can benefit the both of them greatly, yet the goblin boss had no idea what Lid was talking about since he didn't have any business knowledge. So Lid decided to dumb it down a bit and said if the goblin boss sends him more demons, he can turn those demons into precious resources to sell to other cities. The goblin boss was furious that Lid wanted him to sell his brothers and sisters, however Lid told him to calm down because he has another proposition. If Lid gave him some resources and the goblin goes back to the demon kingdom claiming he conquered Yushi City. At this moment the goblin boss realized what Lid was trying to say. The goblin boss could keep his position and he could send anyone he despised to be slaughtered at Yushi City. They then shook hands like a pair of shady businessmen. Half an hour later, while Felita was reinforcing the city's wall, Lid came to check on her. Felita was very cheery to see her master, and Lid reciprocated this love by gently patting her on the head. Alaya then brought her master a staff he requested from the Forge Masters. Lid unclothed it to reveal a charming purple staff, before giving it to Felita as a gift. Felita was overjoyed and says she'll treasure this gift forever, causing Lid to also be in a good mood. He then remembered something, and told his girls that he'll be heading to Yunhai City to participate in their annual auction festival. Since Yunhai City is very developed, there will be many people and many auctions, especially the human auctions. Yet Alaya reminded her master that they were really low on gold after distributing some to the demons. Yet Lid ensures them that he'll only be there to scout for some talents, and he needs Felita to defend the city, while Alaya will be supervising the demons that will soon arrive. Yet Alaya was stubborn and wanted to follow her master. However, Lid reveals Yunhai City is the most peaceful city within their kingdom, so she should rest assured because he'll be fine. Alaya then shyly trusted him, before Lid starts his journey towards Yunhai City. Later on a wagon, Lid woke up after experiencing a nightmare. A plum boy called Fang Yuan opens up the cover and introduces himself as the 9th young master from Qianyun City. He recognizes Lid to be the 4th young master of Yunyang City that was driven away to some remote city, and he also heard that Lid used to be a famous playboy when growing up, so he decided to challenge Lid into a card game while gambling with his goods. Lid accepted the challenge and won all of the games, so he was now in possession of all of Fang Yuan's cargo. Fang Yuan begs Lid to have mercy on him and return some of the merchandises, because his father would kill him if he found out he lost the whole shipment in a card game. Lid decided to take it easy on the poor fella and exchange these materials back for some info. Yet Fang Yuan seems to have no knowledge of anything important, except that his 13th sister was really pretty. Lid was furious that Fang Yuan was messing around with him, but Fang Yuan reminded him of the letter his father sent a while back, and how his 13th sister and youngest brother will come to take over Yushi City in the near future. When the time comes, Fang Yuan advises Lid to check out his 13th sister. They later arrived at the bustling auction festival of Yunhai City, and Fang Yuan had taken Lid to a famous hostess club in the city. One of the girls then recognizes Fang Yuan and hugged him. Fang Yuan then told the girls about Lid and to also treat him well. 2 girls then came over to Lid's side, and they pulled him over into the club. Lid was satisfied after coming out of his very first hostess club, because his playboy facade was created by his older brothers to ruin his reputation. Lid later said his goodbyes to Fang Yuan, and Fang Yuan did the same, but he also shared some key information. He warns Lid to be careful of Bai Feng, the 2nd son of the Yunhai City Lord, that is said to be a peerless genius. Next, he needs to be wary of Bai Huang, the youngest daughter of Lord Yunhai, and a rare beauty with an even rarer intellect. The friends then said their goodbyes, and Lid later encounters his father and 2 brothers. Yet after a brief conversation with them telling Lid to return back to Yushi City, Lid later heads to the Yutian market and sets up a recruitment stall. However, no one was interested in joining a poor city like Yushi City. Suddenly an envelope fell out of Lid's pocket, and Lid remembers that this was an invite to a banquet from Lord Yunhai to other lords in the city. But after Lid read the message in the letter, he realized that there will be a pageantry after the banquet, and the woman who wins the beauty pageant will get to choose any items from the auction house. Lid was starting to regret not bringing one of his girls with him. However, he decided he cannot give up this chance in obtaining a free item. So Lid would scour the streets in hopes of enlisting the help of a beautiful woman, and as he spotted one, Lid hurriedly went to speak with the girl. However, the girl was shown to be not that pretty, and she would ask her friend to beat Lid up. But as Lid was lifted up by the buff man, the man whispered that Lid was exactly his type. Lid would start to sweat profusely, as the man enjoyed groping Lid's butt. Luckily, Lid manages to escape. However, he noticed a commotion around the corner, and when he went to check it, he saw a group of thugs harassing a young and innocent girl, so Lid decided to come out and confront them. The group of thugs, however, didn't like the way Lid was talking down to them. Yet Lid was much stronger and he starts to beat them all up, before asking the young maiden if she was alright. The young girl said she was fine but questioned who he was. Lid then introduces himself, and the young girl reveals she was called Xiao Huang. Noticing the beautiful features of Xiao Huang, Lid immediately tried to recruit her into joining the beauty pageant, and insists she will easily win with his help, and even entice her with half of the rewards if they win. Xiao Huang asked if he was telling the truth, and Lid boasted that he'll even rig the competition to help her win if he has to. Xiao Huang was amused with Lid's answer, and decided to let him take her to his room. Lid then wanted to know some interesting facts about her, yet Xiao Huang only revealed boring things about herself, which kinda bored Lid to death. He then ordered a servant of the inn to purchase some fancy cloths and high-quality cosmetics. The servants were fast at their work, and the items had soon been delivered to Lid. He then took out all of the cosmetics, and started carefully applying makeup to Xiao Huang's delicate face. Afterwards he would sew the cloth into a beautiful dress, before giving it to Xiao Huang to wear. After Xiao Huang had changed into her new dress, she appeared so beautiful that even the goddesses would envy her beauty. Lid then gives her a few tips in order to captivate the male's attention. Xiao Huang was confused and flustered, but she decided to give it a try, and shyly said the word Oni-chan. Yet this proves to be too embarrassing for her, so she threw a pillow at Lid's head. However, Lid tried to encourage Xiao Huang by comparing her with Bai Huang. Xiao Huang was surprised when Lid starts talking positively about Bai Huang, and shyly asked Lid if Bai Huang was his ideal type. Yet Lid reassures her that she was the only one in his heart, so she should trust him because he'll make her the most beautiful woman in Yunhai City. Yet Xiao Huang slaps his hand away, and reveals that there is a maiden in Yunhai City even more beautiful than her. But that person wasn't a she, but a man. So Xiao Huang advises Lid to go near the river at the brothel tonight, because it's there he'll see the beautiful man who was worth 10,000 gold. The man looked like a moon goddess descending down from the heavens, and every bit of his movements would illuminate the dark sky. Lid was strangely mesmerized by his dancing style. The beautiful man then finishes his performance and thanks everyone for supporting him. Yet the crowd of people wanted to see more, so the beautiful man said he'll do one more song if they give him more money. The people then began tossing their coins at the man. Suddenly a pouch full of gold was also tossed onto the stage. This caught the attention of the beautiful man, and he would ask for the person who gave him this. Lid then reveals himself and he wanted the beautiful man to put on a good show. The beautiful man nodded with a charming smile, before putting on one hell of a performance for Lid. A nearby person then curiously asked why Lid gave so much money to the beautiful man, yet Lid told him to mind his own business. But he was only asking because he was afraid Lid have special tendencies, and shows him that other people were now afraid of what he might do to them. The nearby man then shared some key info about the beautiful man. The beautiful man used to serve a lord from Tianqing City. However, he was sent to the brothel to sing and dance as a woman after he offended his master, and only after earning 10,000 gold can he redeem his freedom. Lid later helped Xiao Huang hone her dancing skills, yet he was judgmental and started comparing her dancing skills with the beautiful man. Xiao Huang felt angered that he was picking a man over a real woman like her. However, she quickly calmed down before revealing the reason why the beautiful man was stuck in Yunhai City. Apparently, the beautiful man was a great strategist that advised Lord Tianqing to reform his city, because there was just too many problems in his territory. But he was branded as a traitor because this reformation involves the evil kids of Lord Tianqing, so he is now here dancing and singing for his freedom. Lid then decided to lift up this gloomy mood by teaching Xiao Huang a new dancing technique. It was the Moi Moi Qian dancing technique, yet Xiao Huang didn't like this technique and was cringing hard when Lid finished it. The next morning, while Lid was strolling around the city, he noticed a beautiful man sitting with another man near the riverside. The other man realized that Lid was here for Hayu, so he said his goodbyes to Hayu before leaving. Hayu and Lid then sat down, before conversing with each other. Lid then mentions about Hayu's past, and Hayu cold-heartedly reveals that Tianqing City will soon collapse in the next 3 years. Lid afterwards wanted Hayu's insight on Yushi City, and Hayu suggests that Yushi City will have to take down Zhao City first in order to strengthen their city. However, the border of Zhao City is defended by the son of Zhao Qin, and he is assisted by his 13th sister who is known as a famous strategist. So Yushi City will need to divide these two up first to conquer Zhao City. Lid couldn't help but praise Hayu on his shrewdness. Hayu then reveals that he knows Lid is the city lord of Yushi City, and also disclosed that the man from earlier was Baifeng. He then questions if Lid wanted to know the advice he gave to Baifeng earlier. Lid replied that he did, and Hayu revealed that the advice he gave Baifeng was to kill Lid, since Lid might become the most dangerous adversary Baifeng might ever face. Only after Lid is eliminated can Baifeng grow Yunhai City with ease. Lid was again impressed by Hayu's intellect, so he wonders why Baifeng still hasn't recruited him as a retainer. Yet Hayu tells Lid that Baifeng is a very charismatic man. With just his title and reputation alone, he can make many talented people like Hayu submit to him. So why would someone like that buy an entertainer for 10,000 gold? However, Lid decided he'll take Hayu since Baifeng doesn't want him, yet Hayu just smiled. 3 days later at the banquet hosted by the Yunhai nobles, Lid's older brothers were making fun of him and his city. Meanwhile, his sisters would ask questions about Yushi city and annoy him. Suddenly Baifeng showed up near Lid and asked if he can have a moment. Baifeng then properly introduces himself as the son of Lord Yunhai. However, with Baifeng's menacing retainer behind him, Lid felt like he was in front of an overwhelming monster, but he kept his composure and introduces himself as the city lord from Yushi city. Baifeng then took him to meet other lords. One of those lords was Lord Qiancheng, who rudely ordered them to get him more food. Baifeng's retainer was about to slice him into pork meat, yet Baifeng told them it was fine. Lid's father and sister then came to meet Baifeng. They converse with each other for a bit, before he introduces his daughters to Baifeng. Lid's sisters then began fawning over Baifeng. Later that afternoon, near the preparation of the pageantry, Lid was sitting near the lakeside in deep thought, when Hayu spotted him. Hayu then gave Lid a document to help him regulate his city, as a thank you for giving him a fun time these past few days. Lid was impressed with the changes that could help his city, and he was now even more determined to take Hayu back with him. Yet Hayu reveals that he was tired of doing any more internal affair works. Suddenly Lid starts pinching him, and states that he should be more honest with himself. However, Hayu pushed Lid's hand away, and expressed of course he doesn't want to go up on stage every night to sing and dance like a female for people's amusement, but what choice does he even have? Yet Lid would comfort the sad strategist, and states that he'll take him away even if he have to offend the entire kingdom. This touched Hayu's heart, and he says that he'll follow Lid if he can really take him away. Lid then told him not to worry because his partner will win the pageantry, yet Xiao Huang was running really late and the registration for the pageant was already open. Later at Baifeng's mansion, we learn that Xiao Huang was actually Bai Huang, and she decided to help her brother out by not registering for the pageantry. A flashback of Hayu's past was later shown, and he was sold to Lord Qiancheng when he was a kid. The young scholar would improve his skills studying every night to sharpen his mind, and the first time he gave his advice to Lord Qiancheng, he received a positive outcome from the Lord. Yet after witnessing the corruption led by the offspring of the Lord, and only after seeing the miserable state of the people, did Hayu shed a tear for the very first time and immediately advise his master that his city needs a major reformation. However, since this reformation involves distributing the wealth from the Lord's son to the public, Lord Qiancheng was angered and slaps Hayu's face. He questions why should he give up his son's happiness for those miserable peasants. Yet Hayu again urges the Lord to change his mind, otherwise the city will soon collapse. Yet Lord Qiancheng didn't listen and kicks him in the stomach, before tossing Hayu in jail and having the idea to turn Hayu into a female singer for the people's amusement. Yet Hayu later met Baifeng and thought one day he would be saved by him. However, that day never really came. Back in the present, Baifeng met up with Hayu, and he states that his righteous sister coincidentally met Lid while luring in a group of thugs. Lid then turned her into a contestant of the pageantry and plans to take Hayu if they win. This gave Hayu hope that he could finally be free, but Baifeng revealed that his sister pulled out of the competition to help him, and Hayu was bumped out when he heard this. But a while later, after the pageantry have started, the announcer awkwardly announced their next contestant would be Lid. This sends a shockwave of various emotions to the character watching the pageant, especially Lid's family members. Lid then expressed he will put on a show like no other, and it was time to show off his pole dancing skills. Most of the people in the crowd felt like their little brothers were waking up when they saw Lid, and Lid's father was furious while his brother was having a grand time laughing his butt off. Lord Qiancheng then starts making fun of Lid's father, but after Lord Qiancheng's son said he wanted to eat Lid, Lid's father now had the upper hand, and suggests their sons should get married. Lid then began his performance, and it surprised the crowd so much that they began cheering for Lid. Hayu, who saw how wildly Lid was performing for him, couldn't help but let out a smile when Lid blew a kiss to the crowd, and started crying in gratitude. Meanwhile, Bai Huang was also enjoying her time watching Lid. Yet a retainer of Baifeng advised his lord to kill Lid as Lid was starting to become a threat to them. However, Bai Huang told her brother not to listen to this old man, because Lid is a genuine and good friend of hers, so she suggests her brother try to befriend Lid, because they could become really good friends. Lid later finished his fiery performance, and he'd ask everybody to vote and simp for him, which causes Bai Huang to laugh out loud, and shows her brother that Lid wasn't a bad guy in the process. The votes were later in, and Lid had won after most of the guys had turned gay for him. Lid thanks all of his new fans for the support, and the announcer asks if there was anything Lid would like to say. Lid said he wants to thank his older brother, because he was inspired when he saw his older brother wearing their mother's clothes when they were young. Li Yi then shouts at Lid that he was going to kill him. However, the Lord of Yunhai City then made his appearance, and asked what item would Lid like to choose from the auction house. Yet Lid states that he doesn't want an item but a person, and that person was none other than Hayu. Hayu then came running at Lid, and for some reason my PP now feels strange. However, the next day at a fancy hotel, Baifeng's retainer was guarding a room, while Lid and Baifeng was conversing with each other. Baifeng congratulates Lid on winning the pageantry, and apologized to him for his sister dropping out of the competition. They then started discussing about the state of their kingdom, and how there will soon be a great turmoil and chaos within the region, with them being in the center of this political malice. Lid then got up to leave, but Baifeng reveals that he actually doesn't hate Lid. However, Lid didn't feel the same way about Baifeng, and instead resented Baifeng for just using Hayu for his insight, instead of liberating him from the brothel. So Lid hits Baifeng in the face as a consequence, causing Baifeng to hit the window, and started bleeding from his nose. Suddenly a spear was thrown into the room with great speed, aiming for Lid's head. Fortunately, Lid managed to dodge the attack, and Baifeng hurriedly ordered his servants to step down. Baifeng then apologizes and admits he was in the wrong. However, he was sincere that he wanted to build a strong relationship with Lid. Lid accepted the apology after seeing that Baifeng was being genuine, and they shook hands to commemorate the start of their new friendship. Later, while on the road back to Yushi City, Hayu was researching and giving Lid advice to improve the strength of their territory, yet Lid was too lazy to listen to all the things that was coming out of Hayu's mouth, and he was more curious as to why Hayu was still cross-dressing as a girl. Hayu then gave a seductive look at Lid, which kind of surprised him. Hayu came in closer to Lid and starts flirting with him, and this was the moment I converted to Gainism. Just kidding. I'm only kidding, guys. But Lid later came back home to Alaya, and he hugs her tightly to show how much he had missed her. Hayu then introduces himself to Alaya as the new strategist for Yushi City, and the two retainers quickly became acquainted with one another. However, Lid had noticed that Alaya was injured and questions who did this to her. Alaya didn't want to say because she didn't want her master to worry, but Lid was adamant that she needs to tell him. Alaya then reveals it was the people from the north that invaded them a few days ago, and Hayu theorized it must be the soldiers from Zhao City, led by a young boy and his blind sister in a wheelchair. Alaya also added that since they also had to deal with the harassment from the demons, Felita had done something to herself to protect the city. Lid was worried and told Alaya to quickly bring him to Felita, yet Alaya nervously denied his request, but Lid convinces her to take him to see Felita, and we see that Felita had changed into a demon. Felita begs her lord not to look because she was ugly, and not to touch her because she was a disgusting half-demon. Yet Lid would hold on to her tightly, and calmly ask her to tell him what happened. Felita's horn shrunk a bit, and explains that she, Alaya, and their army fought bravely, but they were overwhelmed when the demons and Zhao army invaded them at the same time. So in order to defend the city, Felita had no choice but to invoke a powerful spell that granted her immense power, but that power came with the cost of awakening her demon bloodline. Lid comforts her and said not to be too harsh on herself. Suddenly they heard a loud noise from outside, and a guard informs Lid that the Zhao army have returned. Lid then heads to the city's wall to observe the situation, and sure enough the Zhao army was back. At the front of the army was their leaders, Fang Li-er, and his sister, Miss 13. Lid could see the information Hayu gave him about the siblings was spot on, and he noticed Li-er whispering something to his sister. Miss 13 then realized that Lid was now back in Yushi City, so she ordered her soldier to ready their arrows, before firing it at Lid in unison. As the many arrows rain down upon him, Alaya quickly swoops in to protect her master. Li-er then informs his sister about Alaya's sudden appearance, so Miss 13 ordered her soldiers to get into a different formation. The soldiers quickly reacted according to their master's command, and a fierce arrow was fired at Alaya. Luckily Lid managed to pull her away in time, because things could get ugly if he hadn't. Lid then introduced himself and tried provoking his enemies into making a mistake. Li-er was easily fooled and angered, so he instructed his soldiers to keep firing at Yushi City. However, when all of his soldiers were ignoring him, Lid concludes that Miss 13 must be the true commander of the Zhao army. Meanwhile, Miss 13 was calm and she could see that Lid was trying to bait them into making an error. So when Li-er begs his sister to help him teach Lid a lesson, Miss 13 comforts her younger brother and expresses that they can do it later after she formulates a new plan. The Zhao army then quickly left. Lid later held a meeting with his generals, and he wanted their advice in solving this crisis. Hayu then suggests a few ways they can defend the city. First was to quickly build a prosperous city and recruit more soldiers. Second was to use the terrains and battle formation to change the outcome of the fight. Finally, Hayu wants to find a way to instigate Miss 13 to leave her little brother's side, because most of the cities under Fang Li's control will be vulnerable after Miss 13 leaves. But getting Miss 13 to defect will be difficult, since she was neglected so hard by her father because of her disabilities, that he didn't even name her, and her title came from her being the 13th daughter. Li was the only person willing to be close to her. So Hayu orders Lid to check on the demon farm while he finds a plan to instigate the rebellion. Later at the demon farm, Kantu told Lid that he was over here, and wanted to show him something strange. Lid decided to look and he saw a transparent slime. Kantu remarks that this colorless slime is quite cunning. One time when it was pretending to be asleep near a corner, it suddenly made its move to escape the demon farm while Kantu was preoccupied. Luckily Alaya was there that day to kick him into submission. Kantu also mentions that the other slime and demon seems to have a hostile relation with this one. Lid then threatens the slime to be a good boy, otherwise he'll feed it to the wolves. The slime was so scared that it nodded it understands. Lid was surprised that the slime could understand him, and the transparent slime thought they were having a bro moment, when Lid suddenly toss it away and ask if there was anything else he needs to inform of. Kantu then states that one of the demon race has recently started a hunger strike. Lid later makes his way into a house, and two succubus starts to seduce him. He gave them a good smacking, before questioning why they were going on a hunger strike. Mao expressed that they normally feed on the spiritual needs of a man or a woman, but May revealed it was hard for them to be well fed when there's only one man with barely any lustful desires. Lid thought about it for a moment and suggests they should feed on each other. Yet the succubus revealed that it was impossible, since the target they choose must acknowledge them. Only then can they convey a hint to the other party, before feeding on the spiritual needs of that person in their dream. May also states that their favorites are adolescents, kids who are young and vigorous. Lid immediately thought about a certain vigorous young boy, and began hatching a plan to use the young boy's puberty against him. Hayu then came to meet Lid and asked if he had made any contact with Baifeng recently. Lid replied that he didn't. However, Hayu insists there was an envoy from Yunhai City at their front gate. Lid later heads to the city's wall to see for himself, and unsurprisingly the servants of Baifeng were there. Yamamoto introduces himself as the captain from Yunhai City, and he came bearing gifts from Baifeng. Lid was intrigued for what the treasure could be, so he lets the envoy into his city. Yamamoto then offers Lid the key to the chest. Lid thought the chest must be full of gold. However, when he opened it, Bai Huang came springing out to surprise him. Yet she was annoyed that Lid was acting scared and not welcoming. Lid then tries tricking Bai Huang into getting back into the chest, and as she was completely fooled by him, Lid immediately clammed down on it, before asking Yamamoto to take back his gift because his city currently doesn't have the funds to support such a delicate item. Yamamoto however assures Lid that he'll take care of the expenses of Bai Huang and that there's a few precious jewelry in the box that could be sold for tens of thousands of gold. Lid was surprised, so he immediately opens up the chest, before throwing Bai Huang out, and eagerly looks for his treasures. However, the chest was completely empty, and it's shown that Bai Huang was wearing all of them. Lid then chases her down to retrieve the items, before Hayu told the both of them to stop playing around, and revealed to Lid that they'll be setting up a police force to regulate the city, and Hayu selects Bai Huang to be the leader of the police force. Hayu then asked Lid if he had any problems with this idea, and Lid uncomfortably replied no. Alaya and Felita then took Bai Huang to tour the city. Later in the next morning, Lid was still in deep slumber when Alaya suddenly informs him that the Zhao army was back. Lid and his generals then viewed the situation from above the city's wall. The pair of siblings had came back to conquer Yushi City, and Lear arrogantly declares that today will be the downfall of Yushi City. However, Yamamoto suddenly swung his sword, causing a huge collision to hit the barrier of the siblings, and cracking it to a certain degree. Bai Huang then introduces herself as the young daughter of the Yunhai City Lord and states she was here to play with Lid. Yet Lear didn't believe she was actually Bai Huang and even called her was ugly. Bai Huang was furious at the young boy's insult and ordered Yamamoto to quickly kill him. Yamamoto then swung his sword for the second time, and Miss 13 would use her barrier to counter this attack. Ultimately, the attack couldn't break through the barrier, which allowed the Zhao siblings to come out unscathed. Both Bai Huang and Yamamoto were impressed with the sturdy defense of Miss 13. However, Miss 13 was now panting for breath, so Bai Huang ordered Yamamoto to strike her again. At this time, Miss 13 shouts at Bai Huang to stop, and warns her to back down if she doesn't want Zhao City to declare war on Yunhai City. Bai Huang then told her personal guard to stop, but she argues that Yamamoto was only protecting her, and it was Li Er's fault for insulting and instigating her. Miss 13 yelled at her younger brother to quickly apologize, and the young boy would sheepishly mutter sorry. But Lid couldn't hear a sincere apology, so he and Bai Huang mockingly pressured Li Er to be louder with his apology. Li Er felt absolutely humiliated, but he gave a much serious and louder apology this time. Meanwhile, the succubuses that was hiding within the shadows took this time to make a connection with Li Er, and afterwards told their lord they have done it. At the same time, Miss 13 hopes this shows her sincerity towards Bai Huang. Bai Huang decided to not make this into a bigger issue, but she reveals that she'll be staying in Yushi City for quite a while, and if they invade the city around this time, she'll show them no mercy. Miss 13 couldn't help but heave a heavy sigh, before calling for her army to retreat. Later at Lid's mansion, Lid was packing up some essential materials, so he could take Alaya to train and level up. They later made their way into the western region of the demon forest, and since they'll need some bait to hunt monsters, Lid shows Alaya the eye of the abo snake. He then tosses it behind him and wait. Suddenly the transparent slime from the demon farm had sneakily followed them from behind, and was absorbing the abo snake eye. Lid then creeps from behind it with a sack, and traps the transparent slime. Lid explains that since the monsters are hostile towards the slime and the abo snake eye could attract low-level monsters, the transparent slime was the perfect bait to allow Alaya to farm. Alaya then killed all the nearby monsters that was attracted to the slime. The slime was cutely pissed at Lid for using it as bait, but Lid starts to comfort it and build a connection with it. They then continued with Alaya's grind while also extracting rare materials from the monsters. Later, while Lid was combing Alaya's hair, Alaya informs her lord that she seems to be getting stronger. The transparent slime later came back to Lid with a horn, and we learn that it has also ranked up. Lid thanks his little buddy for the rare material, and pats him on the head to thank you. Suddenly a bear's paw was shown, and Lid with his slime bro was scared. The bear was attracted to the scent of slime bro, and it quickly found him. The crimson red bear was an elite monster that swiftly charges at them. However, Alaya would come over to protect her master, and try to cut the bear who dodged her attack. It then smacks Alaya to the side, and as Alaya was recovering from the attack, the bear continues its assault, and would do its best to rip Alaya to shreds. Alaya unfortunately trips on a root of a tree while dodging the bear's attack. Realizing this was its opportunity to tear Alaya to pieces, the bear begins gnawing at Alaya's sword that she puts up to protect herself. Alaya, on the other hand, felt like her bones were breaking. The bear then noticed the scent of slime bro again, and it turns its attention to attack Lid. Yet Lid would stand still because he thought this could be an opportunity for Alaya to grow stronger. Sure enough, Alaya came to Lid's aid, and stabs the bear in the back. The bear tries to retaliate, but with a slash from her sword, Alaya manages to take the bear down. Alaya then asked if her master was alright, but as Lid felt a bald spot from the back of his head, Lid was pissed and ordered Alaya to quickly avenge his lost hair. Alaya immediately chased the bear down, before severing the paw of the bear, into finishing it off with a thrust to the bear's chest, which pierces through its body and created a fierce whirlwind from behind. Alaya then returned to her master as the bear was now dead. Meanwhile, Lid hurriedly came to check on her, and quickly catches her as she was completely exhausted from today's farming session. Later into the night, while roasting barbecue near the fire, Alaya soon wakes up and is greeted by her master. Alaya felt bad and wanted to apologize for putting Lid's life at risk, but Lid told her to not worry about it and just enjoy the mouth-watering bear meat he made for her. He then pats her on the head and instead apologizes for pushing her too hard. Yet Alaya shyly promised her master that she'll grow stronger so nobody can harm him. Suddenly Slime Bro came flying through the sky and hits Lid right on the head. Lid was pissed at Slime Bro's action. However, Slime Bro shows Lid that it has learned a new ability, and Lid was happy his little buddy was also getting stronger. Suddenly the group heard a cry for help from somewhere within the forest, so Alaya and Lid decided to split up and see what it was. Meanwhile, at a different area of the forest, a wolf demon had cornered an innocent young girl back to a tree, and as the demon was about to attack the young girl, a sword was precisely thrown at the demon's body to kill it. Alaya then took out her sword from the corpses of the demon and questioned who the young girl was. However, the young girl was afraid of Alaya's scary appearance and backed away several meters. Lid then shows himself to de-escalate the situation. Fan Shirhan later thanks them and reveals that she was the personal maid of Miss 13. Lid lies and introduces himself as Jack, while Alaya was his wife called Jill. Shirhan was fooled and thought they were just a young couple from Yushi City. She also wanted to invite them back to Zhao City to express her gratitude, but Lid reminded her that it was impossible since their two cities were at war with each other. Shirhan gave a sad look and said she understands. However, to compensate her benefactors for rescuing her, she reveals that the Yunyan Lord will soon cut ties with his son Lid, and without the backing of Yunyan City, Yushi City could be in real trouble. Later the next day, the envoy from Yunyan City had arrived, with many people conversing about what was going on. Punwan was the old butler of Lord Yunyan that came to convey the message sent by his master. Lid would welcome his butler to his city, yet the former butler would look down upon his previous young master. Since Yushi City was doomed to fall anyway, there was no need to show respect on his side. He later announces to the whole crowd of Yushi City that from today onwards, the Yunyan Lord will officially cut off all connections with his son Lid. Lid then wakes up from the boring news that was made known, and Punwan requested him to come up on stage to relay any message he wants to his father. Lid later declares if his father wants to disown him, then he'll have no choice but to disown his father. Punwan was shocked that Lid even have the balls to say something so outrageous, but he had already decided that from this day onward he shall be Lid of Yushi City. Punwan tried to compose himself, before telling Lid that his father wants him to send Alaya back to Yunyang City. In return he'll receive 5 more cities, because a fool like Lid doesn't deserve a beautiful strong knight like Alaya. Yet Lid expressed that this was the one thing he'll never give up on. So when Punwan tried asking Alaya to come back to Yunyang City, she immediately rejects him. Punwan also tried recruiting Felita to join him, yet she just ignores him. Punwan was annoyed by how loyal Lid's followers were, so he could only head back pissed. A few days later at Star City of the Zhao territory, many people of Yushi City have defected to Star City after learning about the news from Punwan. Meanwhile, at the center of the stage of Star City, Miss 13 warmly welcomes all the people that have decided to switch sides. Lid, who was disguised as Jack, was one of them. We then learn that Fan Yuan's relationship with his little brother is very poor, since Fan Yuan will want to take in the refugees after news about Lid's abandonment. Miss 13 will also try to take in as many refugees from Yushi City. This is where Lid will infiltrate Star City with his alias Jack. And when the time is right, they will cooperate with Fan Yuan's army to crush the army of Li Er. Alaya then wants to accompany Lid as his wife Jill, yet Lid expressed they will be exposed more easily if they go together. Back in the present, Shirhan was excited to see her benefactor again, and was overjoyed when Lid confirms he was going to live in Star City from now on. She then decided to take him to Miss 13, and introduces him to her. Lid formally greets Miss 13, and the latter would do the same. While conversing with each other, Lid reveals that his wife Jill was in the first batch of refugees, but Shirhan exclaims that the first batch is heading towards Fan Yuan City instead. Miss 13 told her to be silent, and assures Lid that she'll find a way to bring them back together again. A quick while later, Li Er came running to hug his sister. Miss 13 afterwards introduces Lid to her brother, and Li Er would give him a mean look for being so close to his sister. However, Lid would continue to work hard under his new alias Jack, and he would help Miss 13 with her paperwork while also having dinner with her every night. One night while he was doing his usual routine, Lid notices something, and he spots Miss 13 outside of her room. Lid inquires if she was cold, yet the sleeping beauty did not respond. So Lid took out a blanket from his basket and wraps it around the young lady. He later sneaks into her room and tries to search for any information regarding Miss 13's next plan to invade Yushi City. Lid soon discovers what he was looking for, and he straps a message around a bird's leg, so he could inform his friends about what will happen. A few nights later, Lid was summoned by Miss 13 to her room, yet Lid noticed the young lady was completely drunk after nearly finishing a bottle of wine. Miss 13 then invites Lid to have a drink with her while they chat, after clanking their glass. Lid felt awkward that Miss 13 kept staring at him, but Miss 13 finally revealed her suspicion that Lid could possibly be a spy from Yushi City. Lid was starting to get nervous, however Miss 13 pinches his cheek while stating she was only joking. She then lays peacefully on top of his chest and apologized for not being able to bring his wife here, yet if Lid promised her one thing, she wouldn't mind being his wife instead. The promise was to not betray Star City and her young brother. So as both of their lips draws near, Li Er suddenly interrupts them and tells his sister that they need to talk. While Miss 13 was panicking a bit, Li Er expressed that she has grown somewhat distant from her since Lid arrived. Miss 13 would try to deny his claims, but the young boy reveals that there are people trying to incite him to betray her. However, he won't do that since he loves his sister, so Li Er wishes her to read him a story again when this war was all over. At this moment, Lid pushes his glass off the table on purpose, so he could arouse the suspicion of Li Er. When Li Er entered the room seeing her sister on another man, he was stunned to his core and shouts for the guards to come immediately. Lid was later taken away by the guards and locked in a cell of Star City. While Lid was in the cell with another man, the depressed man asked Lid if he likes man or woman, to which Lid strongly replied woman, but because the man was so deprived of a woman's contact, he didn't mind banging a dude. Lid immediately backed away several meters in fear. Two of the guards then told him to come out, and he was tied up with chains, so Lear could torture him. He first asked Lid his intention for getting close to his sister, but angrily lashes at him when Lid didn't answer. A guard later came to inform Lear that Miss 13 and her maid asked to see him. Although Lear didn't want to go at first, he quickly felt bad and went to see his sister. As everybody soon left the room, Lid felt that Lear did a bad job at inflicting injuries onto him, so he quickly got out of his chains and found a sharp dagger to help poke a few holes inside of him. Meanwhile, Lear was conversing with his sister while walking to the torture room. He apologized for acting too rashly but assured her that he didn't hurt Lid too badly. But as the door was open, Shirhan screamed in horror, causing Miss 13 to immediately become wary. Shirhan told her miss that Lid was covered with blood and holes. She expressed that if they don't take him to see a doctor, Lid will die. Lear tried explaining he only whipped Lid a few times to inflict minor injuries, but Miss 13 couldn't hide her anger, and she slaps her brother right in the face, because she is greatly disappointed by him. She then ordered someone to bring Lid to a hospital, but Lear didn't take her slap too kindly, and grabs his sister's mouth, remarking she would side with an outsider rather than her own family, so this would be the last time she will ever slap him. He then told her to know her place, before ordering his guard to spread the news that his sister will be relieved from her duty and he will assume all military command in her place. 3 days later, within a quiet room, Miss 13 was doing her best to treat Lid. After she was finished with the treatment, she asked him if Lear was really the person who hurt him, because Miss 13 was starting to think Lear might be innocent after his constant denial. Yet Lid continued playing the victim, and said that her brother was the last person he saw before fainting. Suddenly they heard a weeping noise coming from outside the room. Lear came crying and apologizing to his sister. While Miss 13 was comforting him, Lear revealed that he has lost 5 cities to Fan Yuan's army, and he begs his sister to help avenge him. Miss 13 couldn't bear seeing her little brother cry, so she promised him that she'll find a way to defeat Fan Yuan's army. Miss 13 later began formulating a plan, all while her little brother was fooling around and sleeping without a care in the world. Miss 13 began to work hard day and night without resting. Her body became weaker and weaker before she begins coughing up blood from overworking. Lid later makes her a delicious-looking dinner, and they were having a good time conversing with each other. He also told her to take care of herself before feeding her some food. At the same time, Lear came crashing in and begs his sister to quickly finish up her plan so he could humiliate Fan Yuan. Miss 13 assured her brother that her plan is almost complete while Lear acted cute to gain her sympathy. He afterwards said his goodbyes after learning what he needed to. However, when the little runt left, Miss 13 began coughing again. Lid immediately went to check on her and realized her condition was extremely bad, so he convinces the frail beauty to rest before putting her to bed. Seeing that Miss 13 was fast asleep from exhaustion, Lid took this time to snoop at her plan. He quickly found the plan he was looking for, and although he felt pity for Miss 13, he still took the plan so he can inform his ally of their enemy's next move. The very next day, multiple cannons were fired. Lear didn't know why his residence was trembling, so he went to ask his sister. Miss 13 apologized because they won't be getting any of their cities back anytime soon. When Lear was about to cuss at his sister, the people of Star City began hearing a voice from above the sky. We learned that Fan Yuan's army had used a speaker spell to talk to their enemies from a distance. The people who was broadcasting this spell was poking fun and ridiculing Lear, causing many people from the opposing sides to laugh. Lear was beyond pissed, so he went to his city's wall to tell them to shut up. Yet the announcer would continue to mock him, so Lear shouts at his soldier to kill them. The army began raising their arrows, but none of the arrows did anything to the announcers. So Miss 13 ordered her man to stop because it was a waste of arrows, but Lear had dark expression when the soldiers were following his sister's command instead of his. Later that night inside of Sibling's mansion, Lear began attacking his sister, because he didn't need a useless waste that can't even defeat Fan Yuan. Miss 13 begs her little brother to stop, and the boy lets her go out of disdain. He then ordered his guard to drag her out, and announced that she was banished from entering the Lord's mansion ever again. As Miss 13 was thrown away like garbage, rain began to pour down, and the sad beauty started recounting the happy days she had spent with Lear. The young girl was neglected by her parents. Only Lear would come to play with her. They would read books together, and Lear had an ambitious dream in becoming a king one day. Miss 13 wanted to support her brother, so they made a pinky promise to do this together. Those were the days Miss 13 was the happiest. However, as they grew older, many people began inciting Lear to betray his sister. Lid then came to comfort the sad beauty, and finally revealed his true identity. Realizing the Lord of Yushi City was next to her this whole time, Miss 13 at this moment felt empty and defeated. However, Lid couldn't bear seeing Miss 13 in this miserable state, so he takes her to Shirhan's residence. After leaving Miss 13 in Shan's care, Lid sets out to fulfill his duty. Lid later took out a few guards stationed on the city's wall and announced that the city was now his, while he threatened to kill leader if they don't submit to him. The very next morning of Star City, Fan Yuan's had come with his troops to occupy Star City and quell any rebellion. At this time Miss 13 had just woken up, and Lid informs her that Star City belongs to him, while the other 7 fief goes to Fan Yuan. Miss 13 grips her blank sheet in frustration, and congratulates Lid in becoming the new lord with bitterness. Lid then tried recruiting her to join his city, however Miss 13 angrily refused this offer because she still had her dignity as a woman from the Zhao family. Realizing it was going to be hard to convince her using a normal method, Lid asked Alaya to bring Leader into the room. Miss 13 was shocked when she learned that Lid had her little brother within his grasp. Leader was brought in and begs his sister to save him, but Miss 13 was still reluctant to work for her enemies. Lid then ordered Alaya to torture Leader, only after hearing the scream from her little brother and him blaming her for putting them in this mess did Miss 13 tearfully agree to join Lid. However, he must adhere to her request. Lid must promise to return 3 cities back to Leader if he wants her to join him. Lid was decisive with his decision and immediately accepted the deal. This causes Miss 13 to be surprised, as she didn't think Lid would accept the request so easily. However, Lid expressed she was more valuable than 3 cities. After leaving the room, it turns out Leader was only pretending to be hurt under Lid's command, and Lid decided to return his city as part of the deal, but he also had something special in store for the little boy. Later, while Leader was enjoying his food and fooling around with some women, the door was slammed open, and Fan Yuan greets his little brother. Leader told him to stay back, because he was under Lid's protection. However, Fan Yuan didn't care, and he was more mad that Leader mistreated their sister. So he orders his retainer to break the boy's leg and gouge out one of his eyes. Maggie then delivers a chop to Leader's neck, and he immediately fell unconscious. She then picks him up and took him to a quiet place where they can torture him. Later, while Lid was playing with Felita, Hayu was annoyed that Lid gave up so many of their resources away. Lid tried to calm him down, but Hayu wasn't mad at him but instead Miss 13. Miss 13 and Hayu then got into a small dispute with each other, before they all went their separate way. Currently only Bai Huang was the only heroine remaining, yet she was upset with Lid for some reason. Yamamoto explains that they went to snoop on him last night, and Bai Huang was jealous when she fantasized Lid having a romantic time with Miss 13. So Lid later took her out shopping, and gave her a charm as a token of his apology. Bai Huang accepted Lid's apology, before hanging the charm on her waist. Alaya then came running to inform Lid about Leader's situation, and told him that the boy has lost an eye, while his leg was broken. After entering the room of the succubus was rapidly draining the life force of Leader. Lid then inquires if they were enjoying their meal. Mao expressed that they were. However, he would prefer it even more if he can sleep with Lid. Lid then hits Mao's little brother in the face, and told them to continue sucking Leader's life away because he has no use for him anymore. Lid later visited Slime Bro in another room, and we learned that Slime Bro was able to rap like Killer Bee, and he was even dissing Tensei Shitara Slime, because he was the one and only true Slime King. Lid then began slapping Slime Bro to tame his ego, but Slime Bro told Lid to stop because he was remembering something. Long ago there was a great war between gods and demons. To turn the tide in their favor, the angels use a giant slime known as God's Weapon to defeat the demons, but the God's Weapon was later banished after its use. Lid had no recollection about such events happening on this planet, and wondered if Slime Bro was a reincarnator. If the events that Slime Bro just summarized was true, then Slime Bro might be more trouble than he's worth. A few days later in the snowy plains of the east, Miss 13 was negotiating with a diplomat of other cities, and she had secured many cities for Lid already. After showing the diplomat out of the tent, Miss 13 was putting together another plan to acquire more city. Suddenly an assassin appeared behind Miss 13, and the assassin wanted to kill her, but Alaya came in time to stop that from happening. The assassin managed to overwhelm Alaya with her craftiness, before taking the opportunity to flee. Alaya wanted to pursue her, however Miss 13 told her to not give chase, and to head back to inform Lid. Alaya and Felita quickly rushed back to Yushi City, and told their master about the assassin in the snowy plain. Hayu asked if there was any notable features about the assassin, to which Alaya revealed that the assassin was a very short person, and she felt like a dead person. Hayu theorized she must be from the Umbu. Basically each territory will train a shadow specializing in assassination, Baifeng has his own hidden organization that specializes in gathering intelligence. Meanwhile, other lords will have assassins in different fields. Lid thought the idea of owning a secret organization was cool, and so he proposed they create one. Yet Hayu rejected this idea because they were still tight on money. Later, while discussing and playing outside, a letter suddenly flew onto Lid's head. They tried reading the contents of the letter, however the writings were so bad that they couldn't understand at all. So Lid gathered everyone for a meeting to discuss the assassin's next plan. Hayu suggests the assassin might be aiming for their granary, since their food supply is vital for them to keep growing their territory. So she told everyone to keep a watch at tonight's granary to catch the assassin. Later that night, while patrolling the streets near his granary, Lid came across Baifeng, who thought she was being sneaky. He then came behind her to scare her, and amusingly express her tactic was a bit shallow. However, Baifeng snaps her finger and revealed that Yamamoto was hiding in a barrel behind them, and she was planning to bait the assassin so her retainer could subdue the assassin. She also had another trap she wanted to show Lid, so she took the young lord of Yushi City with her. She states that this guard may look normal, but there are strings attached to his hand when he opens them, and these strings are connected to all the soldiers protecting the granary. So when one person fails their duty, the others will be alerted of the assassin. But that wasn't all she prepared, and she began showing Lid more traps she had installed. Later, as the night continued to progress without any trace of the assassin, Lid and his girls decided to play cards to pass the time. Lid's instinct then noticed someone was coming, so he told his girls that he'll be gone for a bit. Lid then sneaks to a different location and saw a guard had fainted. He realized the trap of Bai Huang wasn't useful, as the assassin had used a wooden cross to counter it. Lid then heard the guards screaming that someone has fallen into a trap. However, the person that fell into the trap was his own men. While the guard was busy helping their friends out of the rubble, Lid noticed a suspicious guard walking away. This guard was obviously the assassin, and she had successfully infiltrated the granary. When the assassin was about to burn everything to ashes, Bai Huang and the others came in time to stop her. But when the door was accidentally closed, the room was enveloped by darkness, allowing the assassin to make quick work of her enemies. She then went back to burn the wheat and rice, but when she left the granary, she noticed her mask was gone. The door suddenly starts to creak open, and Lid showed himself holding the mask of the assassin. Immediately, the assassin tried killing Lid. Lid was able to stop the dagger, but the assassin had already vanished by the time he did. Guards then came rushing when they saw people fainting on the ground. Lid also pretended to be unconscious to hide his strength. However, when the guards wasn't able to wake their lord up, they tried to perform CPR on him. Lid felt like crapping himself when the two lips were about to touch each other. Luckily, Alaya quickly regained conscious and pushed the guard away. Lid then pretended to wake up, and Alaya was relieved her master was alright. Later the next morning, while training Alaya, a rock attached with a letter came flying out of nowhere and hits Lid on the head. The letter states that the assassin will be coming for Lid's head tonight. To protect Lid from tonight's assassination attempts, the girls decided all gather in his room and sleep with him. A bit later into the night, Felita began wrapping herself around Lid, while Baifeng would land a kick on his face, and Hayu was sneaking up on his little brother. Ultimately, everything was just a mess. Suddenly a rope was dropped into the room, and the assassin was now in front of Lid. The assassin tried to stab Lid's young brother, but he managed to kick the dagger away in time. The assassin afterwards tried jumping away from Lid's kick, but she slips on his blanket and landed on his body. This causes Alaya to wake up and check on her master. She questions why her master looks more obese than usual, and Lid just gave a random answer. Suddenly the assassin starts biting Lid's hand. This startled Lid and attracted the attention of Alaya, but Lid manages to convince Alaya to go back to sleep before the assassin uses her rope to escape. The very next morning, while going for his morning jogging, Lid finds the assassin sleeping under a bridge. Since the assassin felt hungry, she wakes up to the scent of food and sees Lid waving a dumpling at her. Although the assassin was reluctant at first, she quickly gave in to her hunger before introducing herself as Hilo. Hilo then wrote something in her book before ripping the paper out and slamming it into Lid's face. Hilo states she will keep trying to assassinate Lid from tomorrow onwards, and Lid welcomes her to do so anytime. So for the next few days, Hilo would try various ways to assassinate Lid. On one day in particular, while Lid was buying a burrito to eat, Hilo tried to attack Lid from behind, but Lid manages to subdue her with a burrito. Hilo then smacks his hand away, before running off with the burrito. It was at that moment Lid realized he can tame Hilo with food. And that's the end of part 4. If you guys enjoy the video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below if you want part 5. With that out of the way, I'll see you guys later.